Alright, so if you use digital patterns for foam cosplay, whether you make them yourself, buy them online, or use some software like Pepakura, you probably spend a ton of time tracing those patterns onto EVA foam. Well, I've got a great technique for you today, and it's going to save you a ton of time and materials. All you're going to need is an inkjet printer and some basic crafting supplies. So for today's tip, I'm going to show you how to print on your EVA foam. Well, sort of. The trick is we're not going to actually run our EVA foam through our printer. Instead, we're going to be using wax paper to transfer our printer ink onto our foam. There's only one problem though. Wax paper is pretty flimsy stuff, so we're going to need to reinforce it first, otherwise it's going to jam our printer. So to do that, we're just going to need some spray adhesive and a sheet of paper. So I'm just using a light Scotch spray mount and a plain old everyday sheet of printer paper, but you can level up this technique by using cardstock if you need more stability, or a clear sheet of acetate if you need to see through it. And I'll show why you may want to do that a little bit later. After spraying a light coat of adhesive onto our printer paper, we can just lay our wax paper down on top. Then you'll just want to smooth out the wrinkles, flip it over, and then trim off the excess. Next, we need to prepare our pattern. We just need to flip it before printing, which most image software should let you do. Then we'll print like we normally would, except this time our ink isn't going to stick to our paper. It's going to float on top of the wax. That means we're going to be really careful right now not to touch the ink, otherwise it's going to smudge. What we've just created is essentially a stamp. We can just lay it down onto our foam, give it a good press, maybe a nice rub, and we're good to go. So the results really speak for themselves. This is way faster than tracing by hand and so much more accurate. If all this seems like a lot of work, I've got some good news for you. This sheet is reusable, so you can just grab a paper towel, wipe it down, and be ready to print again. So what if your pattern is too big to fit on a single sheet of paper? Well, with a bit of extra effort, you can patchwork together a single print. You have a lot of options here, but the best solution I found is to use a clear backing sheet, like acetate. This lets you see how the pattern will line up before placing. This is a pattern for a scrollwork crown that I designed recently, and I use this technique to help me align all the details that I cut in my cutting machine. So there are actually a lot of different ways to do this technique, and depending on your printer and the materials you have available, you might try something else. The first time I tried this, I was using freezer paper, but I did find that wax paper actually does a little bit better of a job of holding on to the ink, but the freezer paper did actually erase a little bit better. You can also print on the acetate directly as well and get a similar result, but in my tests, that caused the ink to run a little bit and my lines weren't as clean. Overall, wax paper gave me the best result. So that's it for today, but if you'd like to see more tips like this, you can really help me out by liking this video and subscribing to my channel. I also stream from my studio all the time on Twitch, so head on over there if you want to see whatever cosplay I'm currently working on. It's probably some video game himbo or some anime husbando. I don't know, I guess I have a type. I'll see y'all next time.